So let's talk about the round turn and 2 half hitches and when and why we would tie this knot. Let me adjust my camera here a little bit. Okay, so what I have here are 2 fenders, and normally when you're under sail you don't want your fenders on the boat. That's considered bad form. So while you're underway you take the fenders off, and then as you're going to head back into the marina and you're going to dock the boat, as you're getting ready and on your approach you want to reattach these. And the round turn and 2 half hitches is a great knot for tying fenders to your boat. And in this case, what we normally do with the sailing club is we attach them to the lifeline. So what you'll notice is in the book, let me get the book. So this is the book for ASA 101, Sailing Made Easy. And they've got a section on how to tie the round turn and 2 half hitches. However, this is a good way to learn it. It's the initial way that you would learn it, and I will demonstrate this. But I also think there's another way that you should learn it, where you tie the exact same knot, except the orientation is you don't have the standing line going over the front of the object to which you are attaching. You're coming up behind the object to which you are attaching. So let's demonstrate this. In the ASA 101 book, the way they show how to tie this knot is you have the standing end, which is attached in this case to this fender. This is the standing end. And the end that you're going to use to tie around something is the working end, or in the book they call it the bitter end. And the way they teach it in the book is that they have you going around the front of an object to which you are attaching, in this case this lifeline. So they have you go around in front of it, around to the back, and then you go all the way around again, and this is a round turn. And then they have you come across here to do the first half hitch. You come in front of the standing end and around and through this kind of loop that's been created. And you want to tighten it up, dress it up a little bit. And you're going to do the exact same thing again a second time. So you come back over the front of the standing end and back and around through. That's your second half hitch. So you have a round turn and 2 half hitches. And then you can drop your fender over. That's one way to do it. But I find that particularly when attaching fenders, the orientation is going to be different. So notice, like, I've got my fender here inside the boat, and that's really not the way I want to tie my fender. I want to put my fender outside the boat, like so. And notice here the orientation is different. The standing end is coming up behind the object. So the orientation is that you are behind the knot as they teach it, rather than in front of the knot, if that makes sense. So here I have the line coming up from behind. I'm going to do a round turn like so. And then I'm going to go behind the standing end from my perspective and through, and do that once more. Go behind and then come through this way. This is your second half hitch, and then you dress the knot. So this is the way that I usually will tie the round turn and half hitches with a fender. I'll do it with the fender outside the boat. It's important to know these orientations, because what you might find is that if you've only learned to tie it one way, that is to say, like, if you've only learned to tie this knot with the standing line in front of you, you're going to have to tie this knot with the fender in the boat, which is kind of funky, because you can't really measure, like, what's the proper depth? How much standing end do you need? If you're doing it with the fender in the boat, that doesn't really make much sense. If you have the fender outside the boat, well, now you can gauge properly. You could say, well, I want it just to be a couple inches up off the water, or you know, however you want to determine the height or length of the fender off the boat. It makes more sense to do it with the fender outside the boat, of course. So again, to do that, this is going to be opposite the orientation they teach you in the book. So you've got the standing end coming up behind your object, and in this case I'm going a round turn to the left. I could do it to the right, so I do it to the left and then I come down and back and around behind the standing end from my perspective, and I'm coming through. That was my first half hitch, and I do my second half hitch. So now you have a round turn and 2 half hitches, but we're looking at it from behind rather than from the front.